the cue and slam! He's missed it! He's missed it! Fantastic!
Now, you can't tell me that doesn't jazz up snooker.
No, you're right. It does. It does. It does.
The Friday Night Show.
So, first of all, I'm going to do something that we've not done yet on this show. Tom hasn't got a clue what's coming, by the way, so this is going to be a surprise to him as much as it is to you. So, first of all, Tom, I'm going to stand up, if you don't mind. I'm just going to take my mic off here. Sorry for any feedback. Oh, yeah, God, that sounds good, doesn't it? It's all making noise. Oh, there we go. There we go. We've got it out the stand. So, Tom, why am I standing up? Well, first of all, the late, great Murray Walker, who sadly left us on the 13th of March, so yeah, a couple of days ago from when we're recording this. He was an F1 commentator like no other, and he always recorded stood up. So I'm doing that as a part of a reason, because he basically, whenever he commentated in the commentary box, he would never commentate sat down, he would always do it stood up. And why would he do it stood up? Because it basically gave him more room in his lungs to commentate, to be more energetic, to give his point across, whatever you want to say about it. And obviously it's true, because you become more animated when you stand up, don't you? So, and I don't know maybe what you know about him, Tom, if anything at all, which is obviously fine as well.
Yeah, it's quite limited actually, mate, to be honest with you. I didn't really grow up like you did watching F1. My dad wasn't. He was into his F1 and watched the Schumacher years, but wasn't. Yeah, I mean, your dad, as I know, the listeners might not know, is was very big on his motorsports, and I can tell that motorsports has been something that you've had throughout your childhood, whereas for me, it came at a very I would say later age, so more towards the early teens for me. So yeah, not too much.
Yeah, and I think that's fair maybe for a lot of people of our age. I know a lot of people who got into F1 in the later stages. Before I get into, I suppose, the full-on tribute later on, I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about the man himself. Murray Walker, he was a commentator, but he was actually much more than that in terms of who he was and what he'd done before he became a commentator. He was a successful advertising exec, I suppose you'd say, a bit like Mad Men. People see Mad Men. He was basically that in England for a long time. He worked for companies like Mars. He worked for companies like Dunlop Tyres and stuff, coming up with slogans. And what was the one? Some sort of was it Pear Drops? I think it is. Making advertising slogans for stuff like that. And the thing is, he didn't actually become a commentator for a career. It wasn't something that really returned a great income. He just did it because he enjoyed it. He was a fan of the sport. He was a fan of anything that was on wheels and a motor engine. But of course, yeah, he was born in 1923, so that meant he was at the prime age, really, where he was going to be inducted into the army, and he was during World War II. So he became a captain by the end of the army. He rose to the rank of captain, and he was commanding a Sherman tank at some of the famous wars that went on in the sort of later stages of World War II. Trained at Bovington Army Base in 1942 as a tank driver, and he even met his father on the banks of the River Rhine in Germany. That wasn't planned. That was because his dad, who, as I say, was very close to, when he found out his son had been drafted into the forces, he said, "Oh, well, I need to go and do that and check on him as well." So he ended up drafting himself and going out there, and then they ended up meeting on the banks of the River Rhine in the war, which I think is absolutely lovely to think that. But I just felt it's something we need to talk about because, particularly for me, he kicked off a massive love for me with TV and film. He really inspired me a lot. I've spoke before about how I want to get into directing, but Murray for me was very instrumental in getting me into sport, but B, into just TV in general as a medium. And I think a lot of people will know me, who know me well, will know how much I love whenever we do anything stupid, like a beer pong night or something. I love a post-match interview, just a stupid post-match interview where you interview people and you talk about stupid things about how the game went. How could you have thrown better? a lot of that stuff comes from Murray. For me, that comes from listening to people like him and his enthusiasm and his love and his passion for a sport. And even though I'm doing it lightheartedly for comedic value, but because he did it and I saw how he did it, it ignited that fire in me, and it showed how it can be done, and how something can actually reach people. And he did it very well. He did it very, very well, and he got known for things like Murrayisms. His Murrayisms were something that basically meant that he would often get things wrong. He would commentate on a race, and he would say something stupid, like he would say that they've gone from 7th to 5th to 4th to 5th, then now to 3rd. So this reiterate, that's 4th to 5th, then now to 3rd. So yeah, he got the order slightly wrong. That would be a Murrayism. But the reason he did that was because he was so excited. He was so excited about what he was seeing. And I remember I think it was one rider, it might have been like Lauder or something, said he was the ultimate fan who got the keys to the commentary box. And we will never see that again. We'll never see anything like that again when it comes to sport commentary, because it's not that landscape anymore. And for me, he's the best commentator I've ever seen, or ever heard, should I say. Is probably the better way of putting it, in my lifetime. I think the closest for me it comes to is John Motson. Anyone who knows Murray will know that he had a very passionate, enthusiastic way of talking. A lot of people compared it to an engine. He said, he had a screech that resembles a 500cc engine being revved up, which is very, very accurate. He was full of passion and enthusiasm, which would probably put him at odds to commentating on a sport which is quite low-key and slightly more reserved. So Tom, for that reason, I'm going to now ask you, what would you say, someone who's a real passionate commentator, really excitable commentator, yeah, what kind of sport would, a commentator like that not commentate on?
Snooker or darts or...
Brilliant, you've gone straight in with it off the bat, snooker. Okay, so I've got a little clip here for you, which is Murray commentating on a snooker match. He's on a talk show with Jeremy Clarkson, if anyone remembers, who's maybe a bit older than us, and he basically ended up commentating on a snooker match.
Get in touch on Instagram at TheFridayNightShow21.
The thing I have always wanted to commentate on more than anything else, you're going to laugh at this, is snooker.
I'm not going to laugh because I've got a microphone here.
Oh,
okay, can you take that, a proper microphone?
Yeah.
And we've got a clip here of some snooker. And I'd like you to give it the Murray Walker treatment.
Can I stand up? Because I always stand up.
No, do by all means stand. By all means. Can we run this clip then and let's have Murray's interpretation of it?
And here we are, that's Ronnie O'Sullivan, and this man is absolutely sensational. He's using the special high-grip chalk on his cue, and that cue itself is a very high-tech piece of equipment. Now, watch him. Which ball is he going to hit? He's going to hit the white ball, and he's going to hit straight on the yellow ball, and back goes the cue, and slam! He's missed it! He's missed it! Fantastic!
Now, you can't tell me that doesn't jazz up snooker.
No, you're right. It does. It does. It does.
So, as a final thing to say on this before we move on, what I loved about him was the fact that even in a documentary we saw a couple of days ago, he could still reference GOAT. He could still reference the word GOAT at 95 years old. And I thought, at 95, imagine being able to be that on it, that you can still reference something so current as I mean, I know that GOAT's been around for a while, but it's definitely been in the more recent years that we've been talking about the words like GOAT. And I love that he was able to still be able to relate to things like that. That showed how progressive he was. And he was worldwide recognised. All the drivers loved him. Everyone gave an interview to Murray. And he was, because the sport was still finding its feet in the 70s with satellite television and stuff. He was sold around the world. Everyone, it was going around as Canada. He was broadcasting in Australia. He was on Channel 7, I think, in Australia, and Hong Kong as well at one point. So he became a worldwide sensation, even though he was still very much grounded in his little place in England. Born and raised in Birmingham as well. Tommy, you're not far from us. And he even lived briefly in Coventry, which is literally near enough our hometown. And I just do think he had the most incredible life, and he touched so many lives in so many ways to follow in his footsteps and dedicate themselves to sport, broadcasting, television, whatever. And I've got fond memories of replicating his commentary, speeding around my drive at my home in homemade go-karts and scooters and stuff, literally quoting his famous lines, even if they were occasionally wrong. So yeah, so Murray, you are the man, you are the legend, you are the GOAT, certainly for all of motorsport, and for me, and I suspect many others, of all sports commentary. I'm stood up for you, as it's the least I could do, and I thank you for all the good times that you gave us all. So here's to you, Murray Walker.
Senna sprints away, but Alain Prost takes the lead. It's happened. Alain Prost has taken the advantage. Senna is trying to go through on the inside, and it's happened immediately. This is amazing. Senna goes off at the first corner, but what has happened to Prost? He has gone off too. Well, that is amazing, but I fear absolutely predictable.
Oh, that's Hakkinen spinning.
Hakkinen, the race leader. He's out of the race. He's out of the race. Mika Hakkinen retires on lap 30, and Heinz Harald Frentzen leads, and this could blow the World Championship wide open. The Italian Grand Prix has gone bigger. This is the opportunity that Senna's looking for, and he's going through, out. Oh my goodness, this is fantastic. They beat. This is what we were fearing might happen during the race, and that means to say that Prost has won the World Championship. Prost, world champion of 1989. Into the tunnel for the line. Is that Peroni stationary? It is! My goodness! The third leader in 2 laps. And there we are. There is the... Now, if Alesi has run out of petrol, and you can see by the body language of the Benetton mechanics that they are absolutely furious, because they know that Alesi has been told to come in lap after lap after lap, and what does he do? He ignores them. And into the pit lane. Oh, my goodness! David Coulthard smashes himself out of the Australian. I have never seen that before. He comes into the pit lane and into the wall. And look at that! And colossally, that's Mansell. That is Nigel Mansell, and the car absolutely shattered. He's fighting for control, and you can see what's happened. Mansell is out of the race, and Mansell going round the outside. Incredible! Up into second place. He's regained that second place, and now he's fairly rocketing away from Berger on the last lap in Mexico. David Hill exits the chicane and wins the Japanese Grand Prix, and I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat. I'm a happy, smiling man, because what I wanted above all else after 52 years of talking about Grand Prix racing was to go out on a high note and be euphoric about the fact that we'd just seen a great race. We've seen a great race in a great country, and hopefully it will have done something to lift the spirits of America. It certainly lifted mine. It certainly lifted the spirits of Formula One. And Martin, as ever, it was a joy to be working with you.
Thank you, Murray.
So that's it then, folks. That's the last from me. All I can say is that it always has been a pleasure, and I hope you will enjoy Grand Prix racing from now on. Goodbye.
Mate, I just you can tell he's an incredible man. Like you can tell he was an incredible man. It's just the passion that he's got for what he did. You could see that from anyone can see that, and he clearly had an aura about him of just loving what he did, and you can see that from all the clips that you've showed there. I loved that final clip of him saying goodbye. I think you've done a really good job there, obviously finding that one, and I think you've done him proud, mate. So well done on that.